4 months. Only 4 months remain in 2026. And here's the uncomfortable question. Are you actually going to do something with them? Because 4 months sounds like a lot. Until you realize how fast a year can disappear. March, April, May, June, July, all of them became memories without asking you for permission. And now you're standing in August, looking at the same goals you had months ago. Maybe you wanted to make more money, start a business, get in shape, learn a new skill, fix your habits, build something you're actually proud of. Maybe you told yourself, this year will be different. And for a while, you probably believed it. Then life happened. You got busy, you got distracted, you got tired, you put something off until tomorrow. Then tomorrow became next week. Next week became next month. And suddenly, there are only 4 months left. But here's where I want you to stop for a second. Because 4 months isn't as short as it feels. 4 months is long enough to change your direction. Not your entire life, your direction. And sometimes, that's all you need. Think about where you were 4 months ago. You had no idea exactly where you'd be today. You didn't know which problems would show up. You didn't know who you'd meet. You didn't know what opportunities you'd miss. You didn't know what you'd learn. And yet, here you are. 4 months passed anyway. That's the strange thing about time. It doesn't wait until you're ready. It doesn't slow down because you're confused. And it definitely doesn't care whether you used it well. It just keeps moving. So here's a question I want you to take seriously. If you lived the next 4 months exactly like the last 4, where would you end up? Same habits? Same routine? Same distractions? Same excuses? Same unfinished goals? Same feeling that you're capable of more, but somehow never getting there? Be honest, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. And that sounds obvious, but most people live like it's not true. They keep doing the same things, while expecting a different life to somehow show up. They wait for motivation. They wait for the perfect opportunity. They wait until they have more money, more time, more confidence, more energy. They keep waiting for the version of themselves who is finally ready to take action.
But what if that version never arrives? What if confidence doesn't come before you start? What if it comes because you start? That's what most people get backwards. They think they need to feel different before they can act different. But your actions are what slowly change how you see yourself. Think about someone who starts going to the gym. The first week doesn't change much. They still look the same. They still feel out of shape. Nobody notices. But they keep going. A few weeks pass, then a month, then another, and something starts changing that has nothing to do with muscles. They begin to see themselves as someone who actually follows through. That's a much bigger change, because once you trust yourself, you stop needing motivation for every little thing. You don't have to keep convincing yourself to start. You already know you can. And that's the kind of change these next 4 months can create. Not some overnight transformation. Something better. Proof that you can make a promise to yourself and keep it. Now imagine 2 versions of you reaching December 31st. They're the same person. They had the same 4 months, the same 24 hours every day, the same problems, the same world, but they made 2 completely different choices. The first version kept waiting. They spent hours scrolling, started things and stopped, overthought everything, kept saying, "I'll do it soon." And then December arrived. They looked back at the year and said, "I can't believe it's already over." Then there's the other version. They didn't become perfect. They still had bad days. They still got distracted. They still messed up. But they stopped waiting for the perfect moment. They picked one thing that mattered and started working on it every day. Sometimes for an hour. Sometimes for 30 minutes. Sometimes for only 10. But they kept coming back. At first, nobody noticed. And that's important, because real progress is usually invisible in the beginning. You can work for weeks and still look like nothing has changed. You can learn for months before anyone realizes you're getting better. You can save money quietly before your bank account looks impressive. You can change your habits long before your life looks different from the outside. That's why people call transformation sudden. They only see the result. They don't see the boring days that created it. And maybe that's where you've been looking at your own life the wrong way. Maybe you're expecting a huge sign that you're making progress. You're waiting to feel motivated, waiting to see results, waiting to finally feel like a different person. But what if the first sign isn't visible at all? What if it's simply this? You start doing what you said you were going to do, even when nobody is watching. That's when things start changing. And there are still 4 months left, but you need to understand something before you decide what you're going to do with them. Because the biggest thing standing between you and the life you want might not be a lack of time. It might be the way you've been spending the time you already have. The problem isn't always that you don't have enough time. Sometimes, you're giving your best hours to things that give you nothing back. Think about the first hour after you wake up. What usually happens? You grab your phone, check a few messages, open Instagram, watch a couple of videos. Maybe you tell yourself you'll only be there for 5 minutes. Then you look at the clock, and somehow 40 minutes are gone. And the scary part is, it doesn't feel like you're wasting your life. It just feels like another normal morning. That's how time gets you. Not in huge pieces. In small ones. 10 minutes here, 30 minutes there, an hour before bed, another hour on the weekend. Nothing feels serious enough to stop, until you look back and realize you've spent hundreds of hours on things you barely remember. Now imagine doing the opposite for the next 4 months. Not becoming some productivity machine. Not waking up at 4 a.m., not working every second of the day. Just becoming more intentional about where your attention goes. Because your attention is one of the most valuable things you have. And you're giving it away all day. Every notification asks for it. Every video asks for it. Every argument asks for it. Every random opinion asks for it. And if you keep giving your attention to everything, you won't have much left for the things that actually matter to you. So maybe the goal for these next 4 months isn't to do more. Maybe it's to remove what's getting in the way. Delete the app you open without thinking. Turn off the notifications you don't need. Stop checking your phone every few minutes. Stop saying yes to things you don't even want to do. And stop filling every quiet moment with noise. Because something strange happens when you create space. You start hearing your own thoughts again. You start realizing what you've been avoiding. And sometimes, that's uncomfortable. Because when the distractions disappear, there's nowhere left to hide. You have to look at the work you've been putting off, the habits you've been making excuses for, the decisions you've been avoiding. And that's where most people run back to the noise. They don't actually want more time. They want less awareness of how they're using it. But you don't have to do that. You can sit with the discomfort. You can admit that maybe the last few months didn't go the way you wanted. You can admit that you wasted time. You can admit that you made excuses. And then, you can stop. Not tomorrow. Not in January. Now. Because the past 8 months don't need to become an excuse for wasting the next 4. You don't get those months back, but you don't need them back. You need to use the ones that are still here.
And this is where I want you to make things simple. Don't make a list of 20 goals. Don't decide you're going to completely rebuild your life overnight. Pick one thing. Something that would genuinely matter to you by December. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's a skill. Maybe it's your career. Maybe it's a business you've been thinking about for years. Whatever it is, make it clear. Then ask yourself, what would someone who is serious about this do every day? Not once a week. Not when they feel inspired. Every day. Maybe it's 1 hour. Maybe it's 30 minutes. Maybe it's one small action. That's enough. Because consistency doesn't look impressive while you're doing it. It looks boring. That's why people underestimate it. Nobody gets excited about doing the same useful thing for the 47th day in a row. But day 47 is exactly where the difference starts showing. The person who keeps going has something the person who keeps starting doesn't. Momentum. And momentum changes everything. The first few days feel hard because you're trying to create a new pattern. Then the pattern becomes familiar. And eventually, the thing you once had to force yourself to do becomes something you simply do. That's when you're no longer relying on motivation. You've changed your routine, and your routine quietly shapes your life.
But there is one more thing you need to be ready for. You're going to have bad days. You will. There will be a morning when you don't want to work. A day when you waste hours. A week when everything seems to fall apart. And when that happens, don't turn one bad day into an excuse to quit. That's another mistake people make. They miss one workout, then stop going. They waste one day, then decide they'll start Monday. They spend too much money, then give up on saving. They break their routine, and convince themselves they've failed. You haven't failed. You just had a bad day. Get back to it. That's it. You don't need a dramatic comeback. You don't need to punish yourself. You don't need to wait for a new month. Just continue. Because 4 months isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent enough that your old life starts feeling unfamiliar. And maybe that's the real goal. Not becoming someone completely new. Becoming someone who finally does what they say they're going to do. Someone who doesn't need to announce every goal. Someone who doesn't need constant motivation. Someone who can sit down, do the work, and move on, quietly. No applause, no audience, no need to prove anything, just progress.
And then December comes, the same calendar date that seemed so far away when the year started. But this time, you'll have a choice. You can look back and say, I wish I had started. Or, you can look back and say, I'm glad I did. And the difference between those two people won't be talent. It won't be luck. It won't be some perfect plan. It will be 4 months of decisions, small ones, repeated ones, the kind nobody notices while you're making them. So don't worry about fixing your entire life before the year ends. You don't have to. Just ask yourself one question every morning. What can I do today that my December self will be glad I did? Then do that. And tomorrow, ask again. Because 4 months from now, you're going to be somewhere. The calendar is going to move whether you're ready or not. The year is going to end whether you use it or not, so you might as well give yourself something to look back on. Not another list of things you wanted to do. Not another year full of, maybe. But proof. Proof that you finally stopped waiting. Proof that you can keep a promise to yourself. Proof that you can change direction. And maybe, when 2027 arrives, you won't need another video telling you that this is your year. Because you'll already know what you're capable of. You proved it in the 4 months you had left.